So I just remind that we have an event. This is the first thing. We have a reaction, immediate reaction. This is the second thing. If we are unable to adapt, then we have a long lasting dysfunctional reaction, which is called PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. If we don't treat that, then we have other complications. These complications are always around depression and anxiety, but it might be worse for individuals who are fragile and unstable. Some complications could be psychosis. So, but I would say that the main complications that we will have is that some people will become very depressed and unable to take care of themselves, or they will develop severe anxiety disorders. And when we have that, we can't sleep, we can't eat, we can't concentrate. We absolutely have to take medication. We are uncontrollable. So these are the common complications we may have if the PTSD is not treated. So now we go to the point 7, the screening. It is a very simple and very fast screening. If you ask this question to somebody, you will have a figure. You will have a picture of is that person in the stage of immediate reaction, of PTSD, or complications. So I will pass them in review. So we can ask, do you have invading remembrances or or dreams about the traumatic event? So memories and dreams, which lead to physical and mental, and when I say mental, is psychological and emotional distress. The word distress is the important word. Do you have memories and dreams that cause distress for you? Second, do you have sudden reactions of going through the traumatic event again? Do you have the feeling that it's repeating and that you have flashbacks? Flashbacks is invading images of the event. Third, do you avoid any kind of element linked to the traumatic event? If this event happened in a metro, do you take the metro or did you stop to take the metro? Did you stop to go to this neighborhood, let's say? I have one patient who developed um, anxiety disorders after, I would say, a dramatic, loving relationship she had with another girl. It was two girls. And she became so obsessed with the danger to meet that girl again that she took a map and she established all the streets they went on together and that she had to not go there. So it was neighborhoods, it was streets, it was buses, metros, everything. She was unable to relate to anything, the color of um, um, un vêtement, how we said that, um, what you wear, a coat. Let the color of a coat, the color of a jacket, the color of a skirt, things like that.
So even
Yeah,
clothing.
yeah. Sure. The fourth one, we may ask, do you have trouble uh, with your memory concerning the event? Do you remember or do you don't remember what happened? Sometimes people they just don't remember. It's again, it's a automatic mechanism. You close the window. That's it. Decrease of interest in life, in activities, in relationships, and feeling of detachment and feeling of dead end in life. So it's like you don't have any more life. It's finished for you. You are detached from yourself. You don't feel anything. You don't have an interest. In psychiatry, this is always a question. Do you have still interest in your work, family, friends, lobbies? Uh, if you don't have any more interest, something is going wrong. When somebody is alive, he has a lot of interest. It's like we never have enough time to do everything that we want to do. But when we are depressed, we have a lot of time and we don't desire anything. Desire is vanish. 6, excessively accentuated or reduced emotional expression. It's flat. Or the opposite, we react to anything. So we are too reactive or not enough reactive. We have sleep disorders. We sleep all the time. I have one patient. Recently, we were able to help her to um, get out of a depression, a deep depression. She tried to kill herself in last November, and I worked intensely with her December, January, February, March, April, May, and now. She slept all the time. She could sleep 24 hours a day. She was, and when she wake up, she is a student. She tried to work. She was unable. After 1 hour, she was tired. She went back to sleep 23, 24, 25, 26 hours. And you do have people who it is the opposite. They don't sleep. They sleep half an hour and then their eyes is wide open. So you have the two extremes. The item 8, inappropriate irritation or sudden fits of anger. You become suddenly very angry and without any reason. And 9, you can't concentrate. It's impossible for you to concentrate. You try to keep your mind, but you can't. And the 10th one, you can have hypervigilance. So you are over aware of everything, and you have outbursts in front of very insignificant stimulus. So you hear just a little noise and then it's a big thing for you. So this is a short screening that when we ask that to people who went through uh, psychotrauma, we can ask that in the following days or weeks, and then we can evaluate, are we in a PTSD, or are we in a situation in which the person is able to assimilate and is doing assimilation. Voila. So that's the first part of the theory. It is the concepts. Now, after, if you have some questions, I will answer to that. But then we can talk of psychological interventions.
Thank you.
In
Yeah,
this
I
first.
just have one question. It's it's under screening. It's number 3, avoidance of a
Yes.
traumatic event. So
Yeah.
what we're experiencing now, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's just observation. Can I say that people in Ukraine, we have people who still don't respond to this war as their war as well. We still have people who just saying or feeling maybe that it hasn't happened to them physically, meaning that automatically they transfer it to the fact that it's not my war. So up until, if it's at some point, I'm not here to, justify or bring it
No.
or judge, but is it a defense mechanism? Is it just them trying to, as much as they can to dislocate themselves from the rest of the people who are around us? Like we have,
Yes.
temporary. So is that or is it avoidance?
You have the good word. It is a defense mechanism. You use that word. We have to understand that this concept of defense mechanism is something in the psychoanalytic theory. So it is something very precise. We do have a lot of defense mechanism. These mechanisms help us to adapt to two things: what we have inside us, the emotion, the desires, the aggressivity, the anger, the guilt, and we have to adapt we have to make a connection between these internal, I would say, factors with the external reality. So the concept of defense mechanism is one which we use unconsciously. We are not aware doing that. It's unconscious. One of these is called isolation. And it is exactly what you are describing. We isolate two contents, or we isolate ourselves from a situation, and we say, I am not part of that. This doesn't concern myself. I don't have anything to do with that. I am not related to that. Isolation, disconnection. It's a way to protect ourselves.
Can it
I
grow
would
something?
say,
Sorry?
I would say that most of the time we do that unconsciously,
Mhm.
but you may have some people who are very conscious of what they are doing, and they say, this is not of my business, and I know I could be involved in that. I could help, I could be empathic. I don't want. I don't want. I don't want to be with these people. And I would myself, I would, I would say a judgment about that. These people are unable to connect and unable to be empathic. They are fish and ego-centered, you see. So they are unable to socialize with other people and to help other people. It's like you, we see that many times. Somebody who suffers of something, and you have someone who pass by and just look the other direction. For me,
It's
it's
that point, sorry, it's that point that you said, remember, it was today, right? One of the, when you don't get a support, when people around you, right? Like the example that you presented to us
yes,
in your clinical, in your
yes,
clinical work,
yes.
the role play. So
I
it's
I
very
will
much
find it. I will find it somewhere. Yes, page
refusal to give
7.
assistance, right?
Refusal. Yeah,
Yeah, it's point
and
number
I would
5.
say,
And, mhm.
yeah, and I would say uh, conscious
Right.
refusal.
Mhm, mhm.
For me, this is very aggressive. When you know that you can help somebody and you just refuse to do that. For me, it's inhuman. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not, I just mentioned that because it's not on a big scale, because of course Ukrainians, they are very united. And people who went that united in 2014, now, they're reliving it in a different scale, because everyone knew about what's going on. Everyone was
Yes.
aware, but we had more people who both subconsciously and consciously
Yeah.
avoided
Yeah.
that reality.
Yes.
And now
Absolutely.
we've been, well, in a good, in a bad, in a good way, we've been put much
Every.
closer to the fact
Yes.
of to the fact of um, having to help, being,
Yes.
you don't have any other choice anymore.
You don't.
You
You
don't
don't.
have
You
right.
can't help.
Mhm.
Everybody is concerned now.
Exactly.
When you have missiles that arrive in Kiev on a Sunday morning, everybody is concerned. Yeah,
Thank you.
but this happen in each community, in e- every place in the world. This is the, I would say, the progress of civilizations. It is in psychologically, in my eyes, the capacity to be empathic to the other. And I think that the development of a civilization, it's that, the possibility empathic and to care for somebody else. When we go 100 years ago, we did not have that. And when we go 100 years again uh, in the past, we see that people were not able to be empathic to others. This is something that we develop in modern society. I would say that there is a danger. The danger is social networks that reverse this tendency. But this is something else that maybe one day we will discuss, but it's not the subject of. But the communication with the internet help a lot to being empathic, but we have to control our impulsivity in the use of it. We have to control that. Okay, now something else you would like to say before?
Yesterday, yeah, I wanted to ask you one thing, but maybe it can be dealt today. Talking about genetical memory in terms of Ukrainians and in terms of our very difficult genome, if I may. By difficult, I mean throughout the history, unfortunately, Ukrainian nation and Ukrainian DNA, sorry, it had been suppressed, it had been consciously chased, you know, consciously terrorized. But can we use that as a resource? Can we use that in our modern society, in our modern contemporary life, and with this current war? Can we somehow sort of restructure that genetical pain? Because yes, I do feel as a human being, I do feel for generation of my grandmother, of my mother, I do feel both related and empathetic, but also it makes me stronger because I have no right to disregard what they went through and to put myself, to allow the outer world to treat me the same way they were. So is there something?
It is a very good point. I am thinking to two other nations who are in the same position, I would say, Armenians who suffered a genocide, and the Jews, and many others. And this can become a strength. We can use that as a force inside us to be able to fight for our survival. Yes, so it's a very, very good point, because this past history, you know, we have something, it's not the same, but in Quebec, you know that in Canada, you have only one province who speaks French. It's Quebec. All the other provinces, they speak English. So these provinces, they were under the authority of Great Britain, but Quebec was under the authority of France. And the Great Britain try everything they were able to assimilate the Quebec population, France, Quebec population, to the Great Britain, but they did not succeed because the strength of this very little population, they were left alone, because with this story, they came in 1600 here in Quebec, and then the France did not keep, I would say, protection for them. So they were really left alone, and they used that isolation to develop a strength as a nation. And this is why up to now, 2022, we speak French here in Quebec. I think that the mondialization, unfortunately, we speak more and more English here in Quebec, but you have this same phenomena everywhere in the world. But it's a very good point, and it's a force on which we can
build.
We can use as a support for our present adaptation to this war. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, because a lot of it also deals with the fact that in previous cases of terror, people were not allowed to talk about it. People were,
Oh, yes.
you know, it wasn't even that they weren't allowed. They were actually ending up in prisons or in camps, or you know, or
Yes.
some other, well, results of you know, of
Absolutely.
the dictatorship and how they maneuvered and well, masterfully misled us to
Yes.
where we are at the moment. So there's a lot of unspoken hurt, you know, there's a lot of unresolved traumas.
Mm-hmm.
But now,
And you know, when we want to destroy a nation, we destroy the memory of the nation, and we destroy what has been written. So we make disappear the libraries, books, history of the nation. We want to destroy the reality of that nation and the remembrance of that nation, which is inhuman and unacceptable. Yeah.
but then again, it gives us
Okay.
a resource. It gives us um, another extra level of, you know, responsibility,
Yes.
realization that
Yes.
we cannot
Yeah.
allow that to happen, because as an ethnic group, as a culture, you cannot destroy that as long as we are uh, devoted to that, you know, as long as we don't
Mm-hmm.
let our mind to get
Mm-hmm.
invaded.
Mm-hmm.
So in these
And I, listening to you, I'm just thinking to something which is very personal. Is that a person like me coming from Quebec can identify with Ukrainians because you have an invader. For us, it was the English people. Now, you know, now I do have now friends who are English in Canada. I have good friends and all this, but the Quebecers had to fight for their survival. We have to remember that it was not easy. We were isolated. We we have not been in a war. The only war we had, and I can't not smile, lent only 45 minutes, and that's it. The conquest was done after 45 minutes, and it was in 1604, something like that. It's passed over. But we were, since then, we we did not have a war in Quebec, but we had a constant tension with the rest of the Canada, which we call the ROC, the rest of Canada, which means, and up to now in our chamber in the Canadian Parliament, we always have tensions between the other provinces and Quebec, but we are not in war. You know, it's not the same thing. But this little comparison helps me to identify to your community. But this is personal, you see.
yeah, thank you.
I I am not an American from a super great country. I am not an English Canadian. I am somebody who is in a state of inferiority in his country. So we share something, you see?
Exactly.
Okay,
Thanks, Joseph.
good.